fan as we start to form our opinions now for next football season, to give you a gauge as to where the betting market, how it feels about all of these teams. And maybe you'll hear like, wow, that team shouldn't be at the top of the board. This team's being a little disrespected. And here's the fun thing. You can be right. And we said it yesterday, and it's been talked about as a big story leading up to Super Bowl 60. No one thought the Seahawks and Patriots were getting to the Super Bowl, both at massive prices before the start of the season. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, like I like a team all the way down the board, you could be right. And that's what makes this so damn fun. And Herman Edwards said it on the show yesterday. The parity in the National Football League feels like it hit another level with this past season. So let's start collectively, together, the roadmap towards the 2026 NFL season, where I was looking at it yesterday, like teams that Seattle could potentially host in week number 1. I think they play the Chiefs in Seattle this year. That would be pretty cool. Obviously, you want Patrick Mahomes playing in that game. The Bears a decent option. We got some good potential options for the Seahawks in week number 1, but that is the story. Also, is that going to be the first game of the year, or is it going to be Niners-Rams in week 0 of college football from Melbourne? We'll find out, obviously, in the coming months. See, like, we love this way too much. We're already talking about week 1, 2026. Let's get to some of these odds here. So my question for everybody before we begin, are you ready? Are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching and listening worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to talk some ball. The two favorites at the top of the market, the Seattle Seahawks, plus 800, and the LA Rams at plus 900. And I think that is, if you needed more clarification, that a lot of people felt like the NFC Championship game was actually Super Bowl 60. I mean, there's your confirmation, right? The two teams at the top of the board were the two teams that played in the NFC Championship game, won 31-27 by the Seattle Seahawks. And the Rams have to be kicking themselves, and we talked about that in the week leading up to the Super Bowl, because the Rams would have been favored against New England. And I don't know if it would have been as easy for the Rams, but I think the Rams would have won the game and won the Super Bowl. And among outcomes that the Rams will rue from this past regular season, I mean, there's the Philly game, the Humpty Dumpty size egg they laid Monday night at the end of the year in Atlanta against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. The Thursday Night Football loss in Seattle at the end of the year was brutal. And that's a game that they absolutely had, and they blew it, and they let it slip away. And as a result, they have to go to Seattle for the NFC Championship game. And I think what I'm going to say next is going to surprise some people, right, as it concerns next year in the NFL. And things can and will change, right, in between now and week 1. Like, we still have free agency, we still have the draft, we're going to have trades, we're going to have cuts, we're going to have all sorts of stuff, right? I liked the Rams better than the Seahawks all year. Now, the Eagles were my horse in the NFC. They obviously lost on Wild Card Weekend, but I preferred the Rams to the Seahawks all year. But if I'm going to tell the truth right now as to how I view these two teams heading into this coming season, right now, I like the Seahawks more. I think the Rams have got some issues that they have to deal with. Number one would be the secondary has to be way better. I think the defense as a whole needs to be better, but really it's the secondary. This secondary was absolutely lacking, got sliced and diced by Sam Darnold in the NFC Championship game, and the Rams were lucky to make it through the game in Chicago in the divisional round and the wild card round in Carolina against the Panthers. Matthew Stafford's birthday was this past Saturday. Turned 38 years old. Like, are we so certain that Matthew Stafford's rolling out of bed, playing at an MVP level again? It wouldn't surprise me if he did. But would it surprise you if he didn't? With his back kind of being a ticking time bomb. I'm not saying his career's over. He could win MVP again. Just, I think it's a fair topic of conversation. And the other thing for the Rams, and it really manifests itself in the divisional round game in Chicago against the Bears, they need way more speed on offense. Devontae Adams is a great red zone threat. Like, they got to get some more speed. Like, Puka Nacua is one of the best receivers in the league. Also, he needs to stop talking. Like, I liked Puka Nacua way more when he just played and didn't say anything. and wasn't on camera ever. I think he just needs to slow his roll a little bit here. I get it. He's famous. He's about to be really, really rich. He's awesome. Puka needs to slow it down a little bit. Great player. Great player. Hall of Fame level player. Needs to slow it down a little bit. The Rams need more team speed. Like they just do. So right now, if forced to choose between the Seahawks and the Rams, I would take the Super Bowl champion, Seattle Seahawks. So Seattle 8 and the Rams 9, the two teams at the top of the board. The next two teams, and I love this grouping. And if you've been watching to or listening to this show for any amount of time, you're going to know why I love it. And I'm going to tell you why. And I think it's great. It's Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, both at 12-1. I had been saying for years, not just heading into the 2025 NFL season, into the 2024 NFL season, hell, during the 2023 NFL season, I don't think the Baltimore Ravens are going to win a Super Bowl with the pairing of John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. And I don't think the Buffalo Bills are going to win a Super Bowl with the pairing of Sean McDermott and Josh Allen. The history of the league tells us that coach-quarterback pairings that have been together as long as they have, and remember, it's the same draft class, 2018, Allen and Lamar, and McDermott and Harbaugh had both been there prior to that, right? So we'd be entering year 9 of those relationships. In the history of the league, we've never seen coach-quarterback pairings be together that long, not get to a Super Bowl. Forget about that. Like, not even getting to the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. And just to repeat, something I've said often over the course of the last month, at the end of the regular season into Black Monday, and after Sean McDermott got fired after the divisional round choke job in Denver against the Broncos, I think McDermott and Harbaugh are great coaches. Harbaugh's now coaching my favorite team, the Giants. McDermott will be back next year. They needed to go. Absolutely needed to go. And now, with Jesse Minter as the head coach of the Ravens, and Joe Brady as the coach of the Buffalo Bills, I need to remain really consistent. And the way I'm going to do that is to say, it's possible that the floor of both these teams has been lowered, right? Especially for Buffalo, that the floor has been lowered. And maybe Buffalo is more likely now to go 9-8 than they were with Sean McDermott. And maybe the Ravens are more likely to go 8-9. And I know they weren't great last year. I know that. Lamar missed time, right? That maybe they're more likely to miss the playoffs again than they would have been with John Harbaugh. It's possible, right? But if it's true that I think that Harbaugh and Lamar and McDermott and Allen were not winning Super Bowls because of the head coach, and because it just sometimes in life things reach an expiration date, then I also have to acknowledge that the ceiling has been raised for both these teams now, with different head coaches. By all accounts, Jesse Minter's an absolute stud, kind of in the Mike Macdonald mold a little bit. Especially had been on the Ravens staff with Macdonald, goes to the Chargers, stud for a couple of years, wins a national title at Michigan, now the head coach of Baltimore. And by all accounts, and I talked to some people about this off air last week in San Francisco as it concerns Joe Brady, that Sean McDermott wanted the training wheels on the Bills offense. And I think this is something that's kind of been reported, right? That Buffalo's conservative on offense because McDermott wanted them to play that way. And here's what's fun about sports, right? And life. More shall be revealed. We'll find out when the games start, if that's true. My sense is, and it's a guess, but it's an educated guess, is that you will see a more aggressive Buffalo offense this year, where it's not just like run, hey Josh, figure it out, like a backyard play on 3rd and long. I give both teams a great chance to win the Super Bowl next year. I didn't feel that way last year. If forced to choose between the two, I would lean towards Buffalo over Baltimore. There are questions about Lamar Jackson's, does he have that dog in him, D-A-W-G? Reports that the Ravens needed a coach to kind of coax the greatness out of Lamar. I'll tell you, I don't like that. I don't like hearing that. Also, like Lamar is a first ballot Hall of Famer if he keeps this up. I'm not saying he's bad, just that, It's not great when the team is floating out there to reporters that the new coach has got to get it out of the star quarterback. The star quarterback should be leaving it all out there with no prompting. That's not a concern with Josh Allen. The other thing that concerns me a little bit about Baltimore, and I'm nitpicking, and I acknowledge that, but I'm talking about 2 Super Bowl contenders. Baltimore hires 29-year-old Declan Doyle to be the offensive coordinator, who was with Ben Johnson last year in Chicago, right? And Ben Johnson's like the maestro of that offense, obviously. So now Doyle goes, and does he rule? We'll find out. Doyle rules. I don't know. Microscope going to be on him in a big way. He'll be the maestro of the offense in Baltimore. I'm not saying he can't be great. He can be. And look, I feel like I could coordinate the Ravens offense, or you could coordinate the Ravens offense and maybe find some success because Lamar Jackson's the quarterback. It's hard for the offense to be bad if you have an MVP at quarterback, right? But if forced to choose right now between the two, I lean towards the Buffalo Bills over the Baltimore Ravens. Can you tell we love the NFL on this show? We're 1 segment in and we've hit on 4 teams at the top of the odds board. We'll take a break. And on the other side, we will get to the 3 teams grouped at 14-1. The Packers, the Chiefs, and the Eagles. 3 teams grouped at 15-1. The Lions, the Chargers, and the AFC champion Patriots. And here's a teaser for everybody. The team that I like to win next year's Super Bowl has not yet been mentioned.